It's August of 1830, and Joseph Smith is preparing to partake of the sacrament with some friends of his. And so he goes out to buy some wine, and he receives this revelation, which is recorded in Doctrine and Covenants, section 27. And in verse 2, God tells Joseph, "For behold, I say unto you, that it mattereth not what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink when ye partake of the sacrament. If it so be that you do it with an eye single to my glory, remembering unto the Father my body, which was laid down for you, and my blood, which was shed for the remission of your sins." Then in verse 3 it says, "Wherefore a commandment I give unto you, that ye shall not purchase wine, neither strong drink of your enemies." So he says in verse 2 that it mattereth not. But then in verse 3 he says to not purchase wine. And we know that today we don't drink wine when we partake of the sacrament. So why would he say that it mattereth not, but then say something kind of contradictory to that? And this is the thought that I have. This might not be the exact reason, but this is why, for me, I believe we don't drink wine. Okay, so obviously we have the word of wisdom, and that's kind of part of it. But also, I personally believe that the word of wisdom isn't as much as God would want it to be. I think if he could, he would actually ask us to not partake of even more things. But then he'd kind of be stepping on our agency, and it would become too many commandments that we just wouldn't be able to keep them. Like when Moses had to go back and get new commandments because he was like, they're not ready for these commandments. And so I think God gives us commandments piece by piece, and then gives us personal revelation piece by piece, you know? And so he can't ask us to do all of these crazy things, but he does know that alcohol and coffee can hurt our bodies. And so he's asked us to not partake of them. And as a part of that, to not partake of them as a part of sacrament. So no, it doesn't matter what we drink. But God also wants us to take care of our bodies and to treat them as temples. And I think in God's ideal world, we wouldn't partake of a lot of things that we do partake of. But I think God just had to pick the most important things, like the things that really harm us the most, and tell us not to partake of those things. But then you also have to consider that financially at this point in the church, it would have been expensive to purchase wine, which isn't that big of a deal because they were already struggling financially and they had people to support them. So God would have provided a way if he wanted to. But why would he provide a way for something that can harm our bodies? And I'm sure you're like, well, didn't they drink wine, in Jesus' time? Yes, but water was not healthy at that point. They could not really drink water in a healthy way. It just wasn't safe. And so for them, wine was the best option. And for us, now that we have clean water, water is our best option to take care of our bodies. Because in that time, water would not have helped their bodies. It would have hurt them. But now we have water that won't hurt our bodies. But we do have wine that will hurt our bodies. I think when it comes down to it, it's just whatever you think. At some point, you have to figure out why you choose to drink water instead of wine during the sacrament. You have to build a testimony for yourself. And section 27 can really help with that. So I invite you to study this section, and I'll see you tomorrow.